Hello YouTube, this week's topic is FTM stereotypes. That should be how I start every conversation. Hello, nice to meet you. Anyway, we're gonna get right into the topic. So there are definitely stereotypes about FTMs, and some of them are definitely bad, and definitely it is not ideal for people to assume things about my character, but I will say that I do appreciate people who have a good handle on FTM stereotypes, and here is why. I can figure out how much of an ally you are based on your perceived stereotypes about FTMs. I can. How can I do that? Well, let's look at what a stereotype even is. It's somebody's idea of how the typical individual behaves or acts based on their demographic. And stereotypes come from somewhere. I mean, when somebody observes a group of people in the same style or behavior or activity pops up again and again and again, that will become a stereotype. And yes, sometimes stereotypes can be really horrible and awful and problematic, and that happens when we're given a very limited amount of representation, very non-diverse, just like one idea of what a group of people is like. We have this problem for the trans community, and like another example would be Muslims. Like, Westerners have created this stereotype that they're all violent because of what the news like spews at us. Spoiler alert, that is false. But this brings me to my next point. The more closely connected somebody is to a group of people, the more harmless and innocent and accurate their stereotypes are, and yes, there's a such thing as harmless and accurate stereotypes. For example, it's a stereotype that moms own vans. Big deal. Lots of moms own vans. Moms know they own vans. They also know that if they have a ton of children, and their children have a ton of friends, and everyone needs to go to soccer practice, vans are awesome. And if you are a mom, I bet you can have a good time with all of your mom friends talking about stereotypes about moms, and I bet you can come up with a lot more stereotypes than someone like me can come up with, because I'm not a mom, and it's harder for me to create an image in my head of what the typical mom looks like. But if you are a mom, you have this like gigantic resource of knowledge. Thus, like I said before, as an FTM person myself, I can judge how connected you are to the FTM community based on what your perceived stereotypes of the FTM community are. If your stereotypes are the same as my stereotypes, I can assume that you're pretty connected to the community. I mean, I know tons of FTMs to base my stereotypes on. If yours are similar, then you must know a ton of FTMs to base your stereotypes on. And if you're talking to somebody who absolutely cannot think of anything that is an example of an FTM stereotype, this does not mean that they're this like judgment-free angel that descended from the heavens to treat all people equally. It probably means they don't even know what an FTM is. Like, if I asked you to give me an example of a stereotype for dragon-unicorn hybrids who lived in clouds, what would you say? Could you think of one? Probably not. If I asked you to name a stereotype about a white person, you could name a million. Why? Because you've probably seen a million white people. You've probably seen significantly less unicorn dragons. Maybe. I mean, I don't know your life, but... So here's a key or legend or map or whatever you want to call it for how to know if you're talking to somebody who is like down with the trans people, yo. If you're talking to somebody who can't think of a single thing that is typical of FTMs, they probably don't know a whole lot, and that's not good or bad, it just means they don't know a whole lot. If you're talking to someone and they have all the same funny stereotypes about FTMs that you have, it probably means they got mad connections to the trans community, yo. If you are talking to somebody who thinks that all trans people are murderous zombies, child molesters, criminals, or just like overall just an unsound human being, then they probably need a timeout, and you just, like, what really is the value of their opinion or like mouth sounds anyway? Nothing, not much really, not much. I mean, to me, stereotypes are almost completely meant to be jokes. Take them with a grain of salt, laugh at them, create them, and then realize that none of it actually matters at all. Like, it's not somebody trying to tell you what you're supposed to be like. It's somebody's idea of the typical, what somebody tends to be, and it's in no way telling you how to be. And yes. Goodbye.